Hey guys, it's Dr. Bickling from Own It Dental. As always, here's my contact information if you need to get a hold of me. If you guys are enjoying these videos, please do hit that like button. It's right down below, it's like right there, and it's super easy to do. Speaking of super easy, today we're going to talk about how to make molar root canals easy. I got the lab coat on and the scrubs, so let's dig into it. All right, as I said, today we're going to talk about how to make molar endos super easy, both for you and your associates. A lot of my clients have associates that just refuse to do molar endos, and because they're too difficult. But today I'm going to give you the 6 steps that I teach my associates how to make their molar endos super easy. All right, but before we do that, let's talk about what makes molar endos hard. And it's more than just that they've got 3 or 4 canals. There's more to it than that, and in my opinion, this is one of the main reasons here. And let me just grab my pointer. There we go. Is these accesses that we're taught. You know, this is a maxillary one here, but these accesses are tiny. And not only that, if you look, it's very difficult to see where the canals are, but you've got these cusps in the way. You know, so if you're trying to get in there, you've got to navigate around that cusp to get in there to the canals, and that makes life very, very difficult. You know, and that's a maxillary one, but you know, same thing's true even with the mandibular ones. You know, these are a little extreme, but you can see what I mean. It's still very, very difficult to see where the canals are. So today I'm going to talk about the 6 steps or the 6 hints that I can give you to make in your associates to make your molar endos much easier. So the first step is the 5-minute crown prep. So if you haven't seen my 5-minute crown prep video, I'll post a card for it up here somewhere, and you can watch that. But what I teach my associates is the first thing you need to do in all of your molar endos is do the crown prep first. Why? Because we want to get those cusps out of the way. That's one of the things that makes it most difficult to not only locate the canals, but also get straight line access, is when those mesial cusps, the mesial buccal and the mesiolingual cusps are in the way. So let's just get them out of the way anyway. These teeth are going to need crowns anyway because they're molars and they're getting root canals. So the first step is do your 5-minute crown prep. Get that occlusal reduction at the very least, get the occlusal reduction out of the way, get those cusps out of your way, so they're not an obstruction for you to locate those canals and get your straight line access. Step number 2, give yourself a wide funnel. Give yourself like this huge wide opening to get in there. Now I know I showed you a couple of small openings, and before you say it, but Dr. Bickling, endodontists do tiny little openings. Let me tell you something about that. Endodontists are financially incentivized to do tiny little openings. Why? Because a lot of the endos that we send to them are done through crowns. And if they make a big hole in that crown, guess what? You've got to redo the crown. And you're not going to be happy about that, and the patient's not going to be happy about that. So if they do a tiny little access, all you got to do is plug it up with composite. So endodontists are not going to do large accesses because they know that if they do, you're not going to send them any more patients. So they just do the tiny little accesses. They've got their microscopes and they're happy doing it that way. They're financially incentivized to do tiny little access holes. But you're not an endodontist, you're a general dentist, and you're going to restore the tooth anyway. So why not give yourself the widest funnel and the best view possible? Step number 3, and this is a hard and fast rule, and I made sure my doctors followed this rule. If you can't locate all of the canals in 15 minutes, refer it out. So what I mean by that is that, you know, part of the problem with molar endos, especially with people who have little experience, is that they can spend all day looking for these canals. And if they can't find them right away, one of the things I found is they're looking in the wrong place. In other words, they're drilling out to the side of the tooth, not to the places where they need to be going. So if you can't find the canals, all of the canals, at least 3 canals, if it's a maxillary first molar. If you can't find the 3 main canals within 15 minutes, refer it out. What you're basically going to be doing is you're going to be referring out, basically saving your butt is what you're going to be doing, because something's going wrong if you can't find those canals in 15 minutes. Next, Step number 4, make your small funnels. And what do I mean by that? Well, once you locate those canals, you've got to open up those canals. You're making small funnels. And I don't care if you use Gates Gliddens or some type of orifice shaper or something like that. This video is not about what endo equipment you use or endo files that you use. It's more the principles, and you can use the ones that you like. But open up those canals and start to give yourself straight line access, especially on those mesial canals. So create your small funnels and create your straight line access. The 5th step is your 15-minute rule number 2. Once you've opened up those, you've located the files and you've opened them up the orifice and you've created your straight line access, you now have 15 minutes to get at least a K file down to length in all of the canals. And when I say a K file, I'm not talking about a 25. I'm talking about a 6, an 8, or a 10. You know, do something small, because if you shove a 25 file down there, you're probably going to create a ledge. I can't tell you how many associates couldn't finish root canals because they said it was calcified. And that calcified means they created a ledge by shoving a 25 file down there. But you've got another 15 minutes to at least get an 8 or a 10 file down to length. And again, the problem is the reason, or else you're going to refer it out. And again, the reason why is if you can't get a K file down to length, you're doing something wrong, or there's something out of the ordinary. And basically, you're referring this out before it gets too far, out of your hands. So you got 15 minutes to get a file to length. And the last tip is make all of the canals the same length. Now, how are we going to do that? Because some canals are longer than others. Well, there's a couple of ways we can do that. The first thing is that, when you're measuring from the apex to some type of a reference point. Well, what if, 2 of the canals are 18 millimeters long and one of them is 19 millimeters long? Well, just change the reference point and where it is. Just take your drill, smooth it down by 1 millimeter, and that'll change your reference point. So if at the very least, if you can't do that, what you do is you treat all 3 of them like they're 18 millimeters and just clean them to 18. And on the very last one, just clean that one, the last extra millimeter. And why do we do that? We do that to save time so that we're not changing the stopper every time we go into a different canal. If you have 3 different canals and they're 3 different lengths, every time you go into a different canal, you got to change the stopper, and you're wasting time when you do that. Make all of your canals the same length, either by changing the reference point or work them all to whatever the shortest length is, and then just clean the extra canals, whatever that last millimeter or 2 that you need to get them to length. All right, so let's see what this looks like in real life. So here's a case that was presented to me a couple of weeks ago. This patient already had a crown on it. The crown had actually popped off, and there was caries underneath the crown, and the patient was experiencing some symptoms of a pulpitis. So let's dig into this a little bit and let's see what it looks like. So this is what the tooth looked like when we removed the crown, and you can see there's some caries here and some affected and effected dentin. So we got in there, we started removing it, and this is what it looked like once we got it all cleaned up. And you can see that we are right on top of the pulp chamber. So the crown prep was already done for me, but that's the first step. Step 1 is do the 5-minute crown prep. And then what I did was I created my wide open funnel, right? So you can see, I can see down into this super easy, and I could locate my canals, and I've also created my, so my 15-minute rule was super easy, located my canals. And I've also started to create my small funnels at this point. I've opened those canals up so I can start getting irrigation inside of them. And I could basically take a K file, throw it across the room, and it would land right inside this tooth. It was so easy to get in there. I also started to create straight line access. I wanted my files to go straight down into those mesial canals to help combat that curvature of those canals. So again, here's the master cones in there, and you can see how straight these canals are and the straight line access that I made. And you can see the wide open funnel that I used to get in there and see those canals. And you can see all of this tooth structure is very well supported on either side. There's no undercuts, there's no unsupported tooth structure. And once I do my core buildup, this tooth's gonna be fine. So, and there's the canals all sealed up. Again, super easy. By the way, as far as isolation, you notice there's no rubber dam. I use ISO-Lite or ISO-Dry in order to isolate these, and you can see the isolation is just fine in each of these photos. So again, just to review, Step 1, do your 5-minute crown prep. Get those cusps out of the way. Give yourself a wide open funnel so that you can locate and see those canals. You got 15 minutes to locate all the canals, or at least the 3 main ones if you're dealing with a maxillary first molar. Then create your small funnels and your straight line access, your straight line angles into those, especially the mesial canals. Help combat that curvature of those mesial canals. 15-minute rule number 2, and these rules have to be hard and fast. You have to make sure that your associates stick to these rules, because if it takes longer than 15 minutes to do either of these 2 tasks, they're just getting themselves in trouble. You're not referring out a tooth, you're referring out liability. You're referring out a headache. And lastly, make all of your canals the same length. In that x-ray that I showed you, all those canals were 18 millimeters. One of them looked like it was a little longer, so I just reduced the access, or the reference point just by about 1 millimeter. So that way, when I'm going and I'm cleaning out all 3 canals, I don't have to be moving my stoppers around. So in any case, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to rewind it, show it to all of your associates to make your root canals easy. If they can do 3 anterior root canals, boom, 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 side by side, they should be able to do a molar root canal just as easily. Again, I'm Dr. Bickling. Here's my contact information. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Talk to you soon. Bye. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like it, go to ownitdental.com or click the link above and check out my services. I have dozens of hours of training videos and have negotiated reduced lab fees for all my clients. So if you want to get out of the dental chair and start owning your business, go to ownitdental.com and check out my services, and I'll see you soon.